I have the one and only 24 karat gold Labubu.
明码标价的那些物，非黑即白。若上颁奖台，切莫张灯结彩。
We all love a good roast of somebody that we see on the news all the time. Especially in America, of course, comedians like to parody Obama, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, whoever is the president at the time. But what if I told you guys that Russia actually has a fake Vladimir Putin comedian lookalike who's been pretty much playing Vladimir Putin on Russian TV for 20 years now?
В последнее время меня активно приглашают зарегистрироваться на Facebook. Говорят, там можно найти любого человека. Но я не понимаю, зачем мне Facebook, когда у меня есть Facebook.
Haha, guys, so funny. Russians have no privacy, guys. Truly comedy gold, right? And what if I told you guys that this comedian who plays Vladimir Putin all the time also does Russian propaganda? Check this out, for example.
Есть ли у Путина недостатки?
Вот, ну не знаю, но они не проявляются. Ни во внешности, ни в поведении.
Ты понимаешь его, почему он скрывает свою личную жизнь?
Понимаю,
Почему?
да. Ну, потому что он, наверное, просто не хочет, чтобы было излишнее внимание к его семье.
Yeah, so in this clip, the guy is asked if Vladimir Putin has any downsides at all. And he says that Vladimir Putin has zero bad qualities. He's a perfect human being and a perfect president. And of course, he also supports the Russian aggression against Ukraine.
Как не стыдно вообще говорить, что нам нужен Крым, и вообще мы им там занимались. Да неправда это. Ну, люди действительно по-настоящему как бы хотели с Россией быть.
So yeah, he's basically saying that Russia taking over Crimea was good. But by far the funniest thing is that this guy has been doing an impression of Putin once again, the same impression and nothing else for the last 20 years, okay? And here also I found an article about an interview with this guy, right? When asked how he feels about Vladimir Putin, he said that, apart from gratitude, I have respect for him as a human being and a president. When I started this whole thing, I did not even think that parodying the president would... When I started this whole thing, I did not even think that parodying the president is going to carry on and keep going for such a long time. So to put it short, right, this guy pretty much owes Vladimir Putin his entire career and wealth. Because thanks to Vladimir Putin being in power for 25 years, this guy can keep parodying the same presidents and consistently earn money on propaganda for 20 years in a row. Incredible! You know, in America, the most parodied politician is usually who is the president at the time. So at a certain time, it became Obama, then Trump, then Biden, now Trump again. Everybody loves a good Trump impression right now.
It's my absolute pleasure to have you come to Chongqing.
But once again, in a country of Russia for 20 years in a row, you can only parody the same presidents. And the funniest part is that this guy doesn't even look like Vladimir Putin anymore. Not really. He does look like Vladimir Putin in about like 2003, 2004, so 20 years ago. As of today, Vladimir Putin just looks like a Botox blob, right? So it actually low-key barely works anymore, but I guess this right here is just the stability of Vladimir Putin's Russia. So hey there people, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about the fake bootleg Vladimir Putin comedian of Russia, and about how this guy has essentially become a tool of propaganda over the years. But real quick, before we continue, I'd like to plug something, because I'm actually coming out with this right here, the Babushka plushie in collaboration with Makeship. Some of you might remember this right here, the Gopnik plushie that I released before, but now, it is time for something brand new and way cooler. The Babushka plushie is a plush toy that is inspired by everybody's favorite Eastern European grandma character known as Babushka, Babsia, or Babusia, depending where you're from. She has a headscarf, mittens, and old clothes. I actually came up with the design myself and Makeship made it into a reality, and I wanted to kind of make something that reminds you of home and something wholesome. So if you want to get yourself or a loved one a nice little Eastern European souvenir, these are now available starting October 15th on the Makeship website, and they're gonna be available for a limited time only. So yeah, go out there, get yourself one of these bad boys, and if you do, you also support my channel. So yeah, Babushka plushie out now, go get it. Now let's get back to the video. Now the real name of this Russian comedian who is parodying Vladimir Putin is Dmitry Grachev. And actually what I find funny here is that this guy is originally actually from Crimea, which is obviously a big point of contention between Russia and Ukraine. And here on this website, which is some kind of like Russian website about TV, I like how it says right here that Dmitry Grachev was born on 23rd December 1977 in the Ukrainian sea town of Kerch, where he spent his childhood. So, zrada, конечно, жесткая. The betrayal came from a very unexpected place, guys. This biography website here is essentially saying that Crimea is Ukraine, so these guys need to expect a visit from the KGB very soon. And when he was a young man, the Putin lookalike moved to Moscow to study journalism, and while he was in university, that's when he got involved in Russia's KVN movements. Now I need to give a little bit of context here. KVN is essentially this TV show that has actually existed way back since the times of the Soviet Union, and the idea was that the show was basically a comedy competition between different universities. The way it worked, and it still works now, is that in every university you could take part in comedy clubs, and if you were good at it and if you won, you could actually keep moving up the food chain and end up on TV, so that the entirety of the country will see your jokes. And the show KVN actually still exists to this very day, and essentially for a long time this was a show that most comedians in Russia and the post-Soviet Union came out from. For example, even Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was a member of a student comedy team and took part in this KVN show, and that actually kind of began his comedy career. And the Vladimir Putin impersonator Dmitry Grachov also went pretty much to the same thing as Zelensky, except of course his claim to fame was looking and sounding like Vladimir Putin. And once again, he's been doing this since at least like 2002 or so. This video here is from 2004.
Добрый вечер.
Yes, the old, or should I say young Putin also in the audience, of course. Because the whole point of this comedy was never, by the way, to like actually make fun of the president. So like just ass kissing essentially. This entire show, KVN, has always been super pro-government in that sense. And here in this sketch, it's like the whole bit is that they actually have two young actors doing an impression of Vladimir Putin. This guy's also like a big comedian right now in Russia. He's Z as fuck too. And if maybe at the start it was just some sort of innocent fun, as time went on and as Vladimir Putin became more and more authoritarian, the entire point just became about doing a comedy bit about how great Vladimir Putin is. Here's another one, for example, where Vladimir Putin, as you can see, was in the audience enjoying it, already looking like a completely new person, by the way, so, you know, once again, it barely works. And this right here is actually supposed to be an impression of Vladimir Putin and Dmitry Medvedev, who was the president of Russia between Putin for one term.
Добрый вечер, КВН.
Again, incredible applause for saying one phrase.
Огромное спасибо за то, что пригласили нас на юбилей. Я сразу бы хотел передать слово своему коллеге, так сказать, премьер-резиденту нашей страны.
Ha ha ha, so funny. Ha 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 ha. I'll explain this one. Basically, before 2018, in Russia, just like in America, you could not have more than 2 consecutive terms as presidents, which Vladimir Putin had. And in 2008, Vladimir Putin had to go away and become the prime minister. And the president was chosen to be Dmitry Medvedev, who essentially was part of Vladimir Putin's inner circle for ages. And he was essentially just pretending to be president for like 4 years while Vladimir Putin was actually taking all the decisions in the country, of course. So here the joke is that he says, I would like to give the word to the premier-zident of Russia. So they're essentially saying that Vladimir Putin was the real president, not Medvedev the entire time while Medvedev was president. And it's funny, Vladimir Putin is pissed in his pants, you know, everybody loves it. These are definitely normal things and it is funny. It definitely doesn't show that this country has zero democracy, right?
Перед тем, как перейти к поздравлениям, я хотел бы ответить на 2 самых актуальных вопроса. Вы знаете, многие считают, что после вступления России в ВТО АвтоВАЗу придет конец. Я хотел бы заметить, что это не единственный плюс.
Ох, какие такие хохмы-то какие, блядь. Хохотушки Such co-worker humor, it's insane. So the joke here is about Russia joining the World Trade Organization, and that it's actually good that this is going to kill Russia's like biggest car manufacturer, Lada, that produces the Lada cars. So it's not even funny, it's just dumb.
Некоторые удивляются, почему от России на Оскар поехал фильм «Цитадель». Я считаю, что это абсолютно правильное решение. Пусть весь мир знает, что война — это долго, дорого и неинтересно.
Talk about a joke that didn't age well in the context of current Russia, right? I mean, the joke once again doesn't make any sense. It's about the shitty movie that came out in Russia, Утомленный солнцем 2, that everybody hated, by a super pro-Putin director Nikita Mikhalkov.
Дядь, скажи, который час, а?
19 без 5 у тебя как-то. Генеральский, что ли?
Так я же генерал.
And it's a movie about World War II, right? A very bad one. And the joke here is that with this movie, Russia has shown everybody that war is bad. So, again, aged like milk, completely. So you get it, right? It's the kind of comedy that, like, you could say it's like a jester in front of a king, basically. The whole point of his jokes is that everything that Vladimir Putin and Russia is doing is good. They're never gonna point out actual hypocrisies and problems in the Russian government and in Vladimir Putin's, life. It's just all about kissing ass and showing how great Putin is. Like here, for example, in this one, check it out.
Александр Васильевич, я сначала должен там поздороваться. Здравствуйте.
Сергей Семенович, а вы почему опаздываете?
Так, в пробку попал.
Какую пробку?
Brother, this guy stinks! Okay, so let me explain once again, gotta give a little context. In this actor right here, this comedian, who's also a pretty big one in Russia, he's actually portraying the mayor of Moscow, Sergei Sobyanin, who's obviously, under Vladimir Putin in the hierarchy of the Russian government. And the whole joke here is that, right, it shows Vladimir Putin in this epic Sigma position of power, and how every other official in Russia is like a little shy kid in front of him, right? That's the point, because he's the ultimate badass that everybody has to bow down to. This is what it's about. And the joke he made, by the way, is that, like, the mayor of Moscow says that he's late. Putin calls out the mayor of Moscow for being late, and the mayor of Moscow says that he's late because he was stuck in a traffic jam, to which Vladimir Putin responds with, "What traffic jam?" Which is a joke referring to how when Vladimir Putin is going through Moscow, they, like, close off the entire city and block all the roads so that nobody could even, breathe at the presidents in the wrong way. So once again, it's all about showing how much of an epic badass Putin is.
Что вы не поняли?
Так нет, заработался, забегался, что-то сегодня много дел, и заместитель куда-то запропастился, не пойму. Хожу, ищу, нет нигде. Главный бегал весь день нарядный, что-то довольный, куда-то убежал. Я не, блин.
It's like the kind of comedy where, like, they shoot you if you don't laugh, you know what I'm saying? Like, this entire show is just shitty propaganda and people faking laughs. That's all it is. And I guess I've made it pretty obvious from all these clips that obviously this guy's like a supporter of Vladimir Putin. He has never actually called him out or made fun of him or joked about him in a meaningful way that actually criticized him even once. And apart from playing Vladimir Putin on Russia's biggest comedy TV show, Comedy Club, he's also always a guest at these sort of like, governmental events, like here, for example, some kind of conference for like investors of Gazprom or whatever, at which he's once again performing as Vladimir Putin and making jokes about how great we're all doing and how much money we're all making on the people of Russia, guys. It's fucking funny. And here's the quality of the humor, by the way.
Мне тут рассказали забавный анекдот. Заходит как-то в бар миллиардер, старик и истеричка. И бармен ему говорит: «Мистер Трамп, что вы будете?» А Трамп отвечает:
So good, dude. So good. I understand why this guy has to be on TV for 20 years. He's fucking hilarious.
И бармен ему говорит: «Мистер Трамп, что вы будете?» А Трамп отвечает: «Господин Порошенко, а что у вас еще что-то осталось? Я вас...»
Poroshenko was the president of Ukraine at the time. He was the president of Ukraine before Zelensky. So, yes, the joke is that Trump sucks, Putin good, and also Ukraine doesn't have shit. That's the joke. So, no gas, I guess, because it's a Gazprom event. So, again, guys, it's fucking funny. I love comedy, dude. Legalized comedy. And obviously, we've seen already, right, that he performs in front of Russian officials, in front of Vladimir Putin himself. He has the okay to do it. But what does Vladimir Putin actually think of this guy? Here, for example, back in 2013, Vladimir Putin's press secretary commented on how Vladimir Putin sees this kind of humor. In particular, here they're talking about a show made by this Vladimir Putin impersonator. And I quote, "The president has always been okay with humor. More than that, specifically humor in the best meaning of this word is something that he always appreciates." Yes, Vladimir Putin has indeed seen the materials before they came out, but nobody tried to intervene into the content or the form of the media. So yes, while the Russian government claims that they do not censor this comedian, recently in 2024 in another interview, the actor Dmitry Grachev has said that he actually self-censors when creating his jokes. The comedian said that his jokes in the character of Putin are not censored by anybody above in the government, although Grachev likes to self-censor his sketches. Grachev has also said that he has never been contacted by the president's administration because of a bad joke. According to the comedian, he performed in front of the president of Russia only twice, and the very first time his heart was beating with anxiety. So yeah, I guess Russia just doesn't have to censor this guy because he censors himself and makes his comedy spineless and absolutely pointless to begin with. And this guy's completely fine with being an ass kisser. Now when it comes to the Ukraine war, obviously this guy is supportive of it, but as funny as it is, it seems like he's actually trying to stay low-key. I did my research, I tried to find some kind of post from him where he actually supports the war and says that, you know, we need to support our boys on the front line, but as far as I understand, he hasn't really said that, and also, unlike many other comedians in Russia, this guy actually has not visited the Donbass and has not performed in front of like Russian soldiers and stuff, so that's cool I guess, but at the end of the day, he's still doing Russian propaganda. Like I already said before, this guy is originally from Kerch, a city in Crimea, and being the big fan of Vladimir Putin that he is of course a big defender of the annexation of Crimea.
Поскольку ты из города Керчь, который каждый житель Российской Федерации, через который проезжает, если вдруг едет через Крымский мост. Ты помнишь свои впечатления, ты помнишь ощущения?
Ощущения, ну да, но я не был в тот момент в Крыму, но родственники там остались и друзья. Нет, для меня это, конечно, было и до сих пор остается позитивным событием. И я помню настроение там людей. Была же у всех эйфория свободы тогда. И большинство хотело остаться автономией, не уходить к Украине, не становиться частью Украины, а быть автономией, но ближе к России.
So yeah, it's just a classic story of, you know, the people in Crimea are all Russians and they all wanted to join Russia. That's just the truth, right? That's what he says. And also, look, even if that's the case, even if every single person in Crimea wanted to join Russia, that still doesn't give Russia the right to, like, break international law and annex another country's territory. But when you're making tons of money for doing the same shitty impression for 20 years in a row, I guess, you know, you just have different opinions. Also, in this interview here, they have a part where they essentially discuss how this guy, Dmitry Grachev, used to know Zelensky and how it's ridiculous that Zelensky is like a comedian and is also president now.
Быть офигенным сатириком, потрясающе писать и выдвинуться в президенты. Ну, как бы нет, но мы понимали, что это не одно и то же. А между тем, ты хорошо знал весь 95-й квартал, ты там не мог не пересекаться с ними, поскольку ты столько лет занимался КВН, и был знаком и с Володей Зеленским. И вот однажды случилась эта инверсия. Вот эта аудитория смогла проголосовать за него как за...
Как за президента?
Да.
Да, я, честно говоря, не знаю, как это оценивать. Ну, мне кажется, что, во-первых, это могло произойти только на Украине. Ну, может быть, а может быть и нет. То есть, ну, это до сих пор же кажется, что как некий такой сериал, как проект. То это вот мы смотрим второй сезон какого-то шоу.
So deep, guys, so deep, yes. So yes, they're essentially sitting here and talking about how ridiculous it is that на Ukraine, you know, people have voted for a clown for president, right? That would never happen in Russia. And yes, they're talking about how, you know, it's ridiculous and it's a joke and it feels like we live in a sitcom. I don't know, dude. I don't know what's more ridiculous. A comedian becoming a president of a country or a country where the president has not changed in 25 years and therefore you are a comedian that has been playing the same presidents and has been doing the same impression for 20 years as a career. I don't know which one is weirder, guys, but to me, it seems like the second is quite a little bit more strange. Don't you think? Also, by the way, Donald Trump was like a reality star as well, so... No, Ukraine is not the only country where this has happened. Ronald Reagan was also... Like, I guess the prerequisite to be a president in Russia is to be a KGB agent. That's a lot better than being a comedian, right?
За 23 года теоретически ты мог бы надоесть. Но этого не произошло. Почему?
Нет, ну кому-то надоел, конечно. Ну, во-первых, я очень сильно привязан к ньюсмейкеру. Да,
наверное, поэтому... к мощности личности
конечно,
самого
конечно, это он
персонажа,
интересен, и я интересен, да. Тут у меня нет здесь каких-то, знаешь, иллюзий на этот счет.
Очень интересно, как ты ждешь выборы каждый раз.
У меня нет какого-то... Нет, не переживаю. Ну, не переживаю в том смысле, что...
Что уверен, что у тебя будет работа.
Ну, я...
They're just saying it flat out now. Like, they know that there's no, like, elections in Russia. They know the election is a sham. They know that Vladimir Putin will win, which he did. This guy is essentially connected to Vladimir Putin kind of in the same way as, like, all the oligarchs and all the corrupt people and all the people who are, like, making money on the corruption that exists in Vladimir Putin's Russia, right? all of those people, those oligarchs, those oil tycoons, they cannot go against Vladimir Putin because obviously if they do that, everything is gonna get taken away from them. They're gonna lose their money, they're gonna probably lose their life even. Really scary stuff, right? And all of them are criminals, so all of them have like blackmailing each other. And they all have to essentially live in this huge circle jerk of lies, where all of them are making sure that Vladimir Putin stays in power so that they can continue essentially looting and robbing Russia and the Russian people, right? And this guy essentially is doing the same thing, except that his entire media career, once again, is tied to Vladimir Putin being in power and being president. If there's no Vladimir Putin, this guy is completely irrelevant. Nobody gives a shit. If Vladimir Putin is in power, this guy has a job. And that's pretty much the only reason he's doing any of this. It's just greed, and it's so painfully obvious. But this is pretty much the world of Russian media and show business. It's all just grifters and like terrible people, pretty much. So yeah guys, what can I say? The world of Russian show business and comedy is pretty much completely cooked. Any real comedian that actually wants to call out the government and criticize it cannot perform in Russia, they have to leave the country. And at the same time, talentless people who learned how to make one shitty impression 20 years ago who once again barely even resemble the fucking person that they're supposed to look like at this point, right? This right here is the face of Russian comedy. And once again, I just don't think it's normal that we have a country in which the president has not changed in 25 years and in which comedians have full-on careers doing the same shit for 20 years in a row, only because we live in a dictatorship. But yeah guys, I guess that's gonna be pretty much it for today's video though. If you guys did enjoy it, then please make sure to slap the like button on it as always. And if you guys would like to support this channel additionally, that is financially, as always, you can go to the link down in the description, buy me a coffee or become a YouTube channel member, it helps me out a lot. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching this video and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.